Capital Farm Credit Wednesday night podcast, our weekly look at the area athletic scene, what happened last week, and what's going on this week. I'm here with my partner via Zoom, Dan Youngblood. And Dan, we've got a guest today, Anson head baseball coach Scotty Nichols.
Yeah, and Coach Nichols has his team gearing up for a region championship series against New Deal. So they are a couple of wins away from a state tournament berth, which would be pretty special for that program. This is a program that's had a lot of success, and if they could get back to state, it would obviously be a big deal. But I think if you just look at what that team's done this year, this shouldn't really come as a surprise to anybody, I don't think. They were ranked number one for a portion of the season early in the year. They had a slip up against Albany, but Albany's obviously a very good team as well. So to be at this point, they've definitely earned it. They've got a ton of pitching. I don't think they've allowed more than 3 runs in a playoff game yet during this run. So a team that's playing really well, playing with a lot of confidence, and it's going to be exciting to talk to Coach Nichols just about this group and kind of how he's viewing this experience.
Before we jump into this week's show, we need to thank our primary sponsor, Capital Farm Credit, with offices all over Texas, including Stanford and Abilene. Buy your own slice of Texas. With Capital Farm Credit, together we're better. And with that, before we bring on Coach Nichols, Dan, as you know, I've stirred up a hornet's nest with this photo that I posted from game two between Stephenville and El Paso Riverside. Reese Elston from Stephenville carried a no-hitter going into the 5th inning. And there was a bang-bang play at first base in which the El Paso hitter was called safe at first. And then upon second look, if you look at the photographs, especially the one that I posted, there is clear photographic evidence that they got the call wrong. And granted, the umpire was just doing his best. He called the guy safe, called it as he saw it. We're not saying there was an agenda there. We're just saying that they got the call wrong. But that happens in bang plays. You're going to get a certain percent of those wrong. Can't be helped. It's faster than the human eye, as that photograph shows. And we will post the series of photographs for people to look at. But my question is this. In bang situations like that, in plays that are too close for the human eye to discern, and a no-hitter is going in the 5th inning of a 6-0 ball game, if I'm an umpire and it's a coin flip, guess what side I'm coming down if it's a guess? Yeah. You can say that lacks integrity all you want. You can say whatever you want. I don't care. If it's a guess, I'm going to come down on the side of the no-hitter. I'm not going to end a no-hitter on a coin flip or a guess. I'm not going to do that. I'm not saying the umpire did. But at the end of the day, he did get the call wrong.
Yeah, he did. And spoken like a true pitcher there. But honestly, I can see both sides of it. My thing is I like, because basically the general argument we were having there was that particularly former umpires or current umpires were saying that you can't take those things into consideration. You need to look at every play.
I've made those guys mad. Some of them were mad.
Yeah,
legitimately mad and defending each other, and I can understand that.
Yeah, but the general argument was that you can't take any of that stuff into account. You just look at the play, make the call, and that's great. I agree. However, my thing is I don't care as much about necessarily the motives or any of that, is just getting the call right. So if you get if this situation happens and you still get the call wrong, I don't know how you can really say that you've defended the integrity of the game there if the call is wrong. To me, more games' integrity have been impacted by missed calls than they have by biases. So I think in this situation, I agree with you. I'm not going to blame the umpire for missing a call that close. It was bang. It was literally, I think, a 50-50 call, because I agree with you. I don't think that any human being can watch that play and actually know whether it was out or safe. My thing is, I think I would side more with out more often, and I think umpires typically do, because the ball is moving faster than the runner is. And if you don't know, the ball probably beat the runner there. So in this situation, it looks like that's what happened, that it was a bang play. I think I agree with you that your photographic evidence to me was conclusive. He was out. But it was one that I don't blame the umpire for missing, but I do, if I were in that situation, I had a no-hitter going, I would definitely want that out call.
The umpire's call, to me, right or wrong, isn't really the issue. To me, the issue is that on a guess call like that, in that situation, do you want to end a no-hitter on a guess? And some will argue Some will argue, well, an umpire shouldn't be aware of a no-hitter or special things because it can influence your call. I can understand that argument, but look, there's major league umpires. You're gonna sit there and tell me that a major league umpire does not know that a perfect game or a no-hitter is on the line? In 41, when Ted Williams stepped to the plate trying to bat 400 in the last game of the season, you know what the umpire said? And this is not a direct quote, but a rough quote. The home plate umpire actually saw that Ted was a little on edge when he got in the batter's box. He called timeout. He walked around the plate and he started dusting off the plate. And he said, you know what? When a man is trying to hit 400, you need a clear view of the plate. And he let Ted kind of calm down a little bit. That's a major league umpire that did that. Don't tell me that the umpires don't realize that something special is at stake. That's baloney. If you're paying attention, you're not going to tell me you don't know. You're going to tell me you don't know if no hitters going on. Come on. And no hitters, like it or not, are good for the game. They are good for the game. They're great events.
Yeah, and they're a big deal for those. I mean, if a pitcher can get one, obviously that's a huge deal. I don't think that. I think we both agree there was no, motive here. I think I agree with you that this is an umpire out there trying to do his best, trying to make the best call that he can. He saw it as a safe call. But my thing is just that I think that obviously that's basically a 50-50 call. It's a bang call. I tend to agree with you that it is in that situation. I think that it is basically a guess. It can be an educated guess, but I think it is a guess. And I would rather not see a no-hitter ended on that type of play, particularly if we're going to go back and look after the fact and find out that it was missed. So I don't know how you take that into account during the game, but
that's my point on a guess like that. And then a play that fast is really a guess. You want to come down on the side of ending a no-hitter, especially if you got it wrong. And we got to zoom. We got to zoom in here. We've been showing the larger picture of the play. Here's a zoom in. Some are arguing that the photo really isn't definitive. I'd argue that it is. Yeah. First, we'll show an actual zoom in of the bag. The batter's foot, you can actually see on the right that there's a gap of sunlight between the bottom of his foot and the bag, which if his foot is touching the bag, that sunlight is not there. It's an impossibility. His foot has not touched the bag. And then on the left, I've also heard it argued that the first baseman's foot, there's no definitive evidence that his foot was on the bag. Well, in this photo, if you look at the arrow, his foot's on the bag. End of argument. Another one that there's no evidence that the first baseman caught the ball. If we're splitting hairs, I granted I'm splitting hairs. I'm just trying to prove that the call was indeed wrong. If you look at the photo of a zoom in on the first baseman on his glove is partially obscuring the baseball. His thumb is actually starting to close over the baseball, which means the baseball has hit the back of the glove. And that ball was thrown on a line. It wasn't thrown on one of these looping arcs that looped over his thumb. It was a hard throw. The glove's closing, out.
Yeah, I agree. As an objective observer and one who doesn't particularly like agreeing with you, I've got to acknowledge. I think
very
in this
nice.
I think in this case you're right. I think to me the photo is definitive. At the same time, it is a still shot that is in a remarkable fast play. Obviously, to the human eye, watching that play live, it would be a very difficult call. But I do tend to agree with you that if like I said, if it's bang bang, I think it's usually out. I think the evidence would show, and generally speaking, in these situations, that the throw typically beats the foot. I think that would typically be the case.
There's one thing I want to clarify, that this is not meant to disrespect the umpires of the jobs that they do. They have a very tough job. There's a reason I'm not an umpire, is because I can't do the job. I could never stand behind the plate with people jawing at me. And just stand there and let it go off my back like water off a duck. I could not do that. I'm not physically, I'm just not able to. These guys it's a very admirable thing that they do. But I think there's some points to bring up. This is a very rare situation, a unique situation that occurred with a tough play and a very special situation. The umpiring crew got the call wrong in a very tough play. My only argument is that if it's a guess, I'm gonna guess on the side of the no-hitter. That's just me. Sorry. Yep. If it's a guess, if it's a coin flip, I'm gonna come down on the side of the no-hitter. That's me.
Yeah, and I tend to agree. I mean, obviously, I have a lot of respect for the jobs that umpires and officials in all sports do. I mean, these guys, and generally speaking, they're very good at what they do. I mean, I think particularly when you get to the higher levels, when you get into particularly to college and pro. I mean, these guys. That's one thing I've noticed is just how good they are. How often I'll think they've missed a call, then you get the replay and you realize, hey, they were right. So I mean, that happens a whole lot.
Sure.
And honestly, I think that even these high school umpires, they get it right far more often than they get it wrong. And when they do, it's often it's often one of these bang, bang 50-50 calls like we're talking about here.
Yes.
So I think it's more of a philosophical discussion than it is any sort of criticism of these guys' work. But I also tend to agree that if you're going to err, I'd rather err on the side of an accomplishment like a no-hitter. But it's tough. I mean, my thinking is, as a pragmatist, is that no one's going to get upset with you if that play was equally close to the other way and he's called out. He's called out. But if your missed call blows a no hitter, then people are going to be a little more upset. I guess in some ways it was fortunate that wasn't the only hit in the game. There was another one later, so you can at least use that and say that's not the one hit and a one hitter. But
well, yeah, we're not speaking for Stephenville either. We're not speaking for Stephenville. This is not meant to reflect Stephenville's viewpoint of that play. This is strictly how we see it. It's this has got nothing to do with Stephenville's view or meant to disrespect the umpire that made that call. It was an impossibly difficult call to make, a bang bang play. Again, whether he got the call right or not is not the issue, and he was trying to get the call right. I want to be clear about that.
Yeah, and this is just like you said, an observation by you, and an opportunity to get a discussion going, and it got a really good one going.
There's some people
that got a little heated about it, but that's good. It's passion. I think that it's good that people have strong opinions about these things. So that part was fun, and anytime we're talking baseball, I'm going to be baseball or softball for that matter. I'm going to be excited about it. So it's good to get people talking about these things. And fortunately for Stephenville, they were one of several of our teams to advance last week with a series sweep of Riverside. So they are going to be playing this week against a very good Argyle team. That series starts at 7 p.m. Wednesday at Denton Ryan, then comes back to Abilene Christian for game 2 on Thursday. Game 3, if necessary, would be Friday back in Denton. So that's one of several series we still got going. We talked about Anson. We're going to be talking a lot more about that series with New Deal going forward. And the last team from the Big Country Preps coverage area remaining in the baseball playoffs is the Brock Eagles, who had a dominant series last week against Littlefield, sweeping the Wildcats. They've got a big series coming up for the region championship this week against a very, very good shallow water team that you saw beat Jim Ned last week. That series will be played in its entirety over at ACU. Game 1 starts at 3 p.m. Thursday, and then game 2 would be 7 p.m. Friday, followed by a 1 p.m. Saturday, game 3 if necessary. That's going to be a great series. You got to see that shallow water team against a really, really good Jim Ned team. They were able to win that one in 3. That's going to be an exciting series between Brock and shallow water.
Yeah, that's a very well-coached, pitching blessed baseball team from shallow water. They do have some pitching depth. They get around. They were good enough to get around on some of the Jim Ned pitching as we know that Jim Ned pitching staff was as good as they come at the Class 3A level. But shallow water had the athleticism to get the bat on the ball, which most teams could not, and they were able to scratch home enough runs to win the series. So hats off to them. I will say this: if that series was played 10 times, you might see Jim Ned win 5 and shallow water win 5. It was that close, but shallow water happened to win this go round, so they advance.
Yeah, I was really looking forward and hoping we would get a Jim Ned Brock series. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. But this Brock team is another pitching blessed team, so you're going to get some really well pitched games between these two. And the part that I'm excited to see from that series is just to see if Brock, which puts so much pressure on you with their style of play offensively, they do a lot of bunting, a lot of stealing. They are extremely, extremely patient at the plate. If you don't throw strikes, you are going to probably get run ruled by Brock. They're a team that is going to make you throw strikes, and then once they're on base, they're going to put a ton of pressure on you through a lot of different ways. So I'm excited to see if that style of play will continue to have the success it has against a shallow water team that has pitched really well and is very fundamentally sound. So that's going to be a really fun series, as is Stephenville Argyle. Honestly, I think this is going to be 3 really good baseball series for the big country teams. That's going to be a lot of fun to see.
Before we bring Coach Nichols on, we need to thank our sponsors. First and foremost, Capital Farm Credit, who brings you these Wednesday night podcasts free of charge throughout the school year. Also, for the Love of the Game Broadcasting, our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of K-Legs 93.5 FM out of Breckenridge, KATX 97.7 FM out of Eastland, Classic Country 1330 AM out of Graham, KWKQ 94.7 FM out of Graham, KROO 1430 AM out of Breck, and KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is for the Love of the Game Broadcasting. Also, Phil Hill of the Abilene Realtors Group, big supporter of local athletics. If you're in the market, give Phil a shout at 325-669-5153 or go to his website at philhillproperties.com. And finally, Jack's Road Boring out of Snyder, dirt sales and services. With experience and service you can count on. Larry Green is the man to call out there. Give him a shout at 325-575-8004. That's Jack's Road Boring in Snyder. And with that, Dan, it is time to bring on Coach Nichols. And, I know we're going to ask him this question, but I kind of felt as though once Anson slipped off the number one perch a little bit there with a loss to Albany, I think we kind of forgot just how good this ball club really is. This is a good team.
Yeah, definitely. When you look what they've done pitching wise in this playoffs during this run, it is really, really impressive. There's a lot of zeros and ones there, a couple of twos and threes, and nothing more than that. It's really hard to put up crooked numbers against this pitching staff. And with the offense they have, generally speaking, they can put up enough runs to win those types of games. This is a really good, fundamentally sound Anson team that pitches well, that defends well. It's going to be, if you're going to beat them, you're going to have to play really well to do it. So it'll be kind of neat to see if New Deal can do that. And if they can't, then we're going to get to watch Anson make a state run, which would be pretty awesome.
And with that, it's time to bring on Coach Nichols.
Yeah, he's here. Let's go ahead and get him on.
And joining us now via Zoom, Anson head baseball coach Scotty Nichols. Coach, thank you very much for joining us.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for letting us come on. Enjoy talking to you guys.
Coach, right off the bat, you got a difficult ball club, a difficult challenge from New Deal coming up. Tell us about your impressions of that ball club.
New Deal, historically a very well coached, very good team. We're fortunate enough to get to see them in our tournament here beginning of March. We played against them in the 1-0 ball game. But went to watch and scouting them out a little bit. They're very talented. They run the bases extremely well. An offensive team with the plays makes a little bit not very many mistakes on defense. It pitches well, so it's a very well-rounded baseball team we're about to play. We like our chances, but we know we're going to have to play really well.
And Coach, you kind of mentioned it. New Deal in this region has kind of been the team that a lot of times for our teams to get to state, they kind of had to go through them often. I guess just what are some keys do you see as being, like I said, keys to winning this series and to advancing?
Well, as I talked to my guys this morning, as we're having a little practice, the key for us this week is to throw strikes, to play good defense. Limit our errors, things like that. We're going to have to make routine plays. We're going to have to make some plays that are, maybe unroutine. We're excited about that, but definitely keeping them at bay the best we can off the bases because they like to get on bases and cause a lot of havoc and try to get the other team uncomfortable.
Coach, I was on hand for the New Deal Albany series, and I happened to turn around and look up in the crowd, and you know what? I spotted a bunch of Anson ball caps up there. There were some Anson people scouting that series out, including looked like some of your players. Did you send them out there? Or did they just go out there on their own, or tell us about that?
Well, we when we saw when Albany was going to play, we knew we had the opportunity to go watch. I mentioned to them that to be safe, be careful. If you want to go watch, just go watch and just sit there and not get too hot. That's why I thought it was pretty warm that day to stay out of the sun. But before our upcoming series with West Texas, but we didn't plan it. They were able to go, and I know there's about 6 of them there. As a matter of fact, I went with my son Easton, and was up there in the same stands, kind of moving away behind the New Deal dugout, and kind of moving around, just giving an eye at them. And we're fortunate enough to get to go watch.
Coach, you mentioned Albany, and that kind of leads into the next question. But obviously, y'all spent a portion of the season ranked number 1 in the state in y'all's classification. And I think maybe after losing to Albany, maybe some people may have forgotten just how good this Anson team was. I mean, can you just talk a little bit about just how y'all handled those losses, just how you handled that, and just kind of bounce back, and what y'all been able to do since?
Yeah, there's no doubt. We were fortunate enough to be ranked number 1 to begin, towards early in the year, and then facing a really good Albany team like Coach Fairchild does a great job with those guys year in, year out, Coach Faith. And, they got us 7-5 at their place the first time. And, they kind of, everybody kind of threw us on the back burner, it seemed like, and I preached to the guys, those rankings and all that. That's all nice, pat on the back, but we know that's, doesn't really matter. And that's a nice thing to have for the kids to be excited about. But when it comes down to it, we were trying to find a way to get in this old tournament, this old UIL baseball tournament playoffs. And we were fortunate enough, and I preached it. I told them, I said, listen, first place, second place, third place, whatever, fourth in our district. Our district is historically very tough. And, usually comes back around, just like Hawley and Albany this year, back in the third round, and somebody gets knocked out by each other. But, we said we find a way in and, get going at the right time. Anything's possible. And we knew all along we had a good group. Sure, we played some really hard, tough teams in the playoffs, and we're expecting the same thing this week.
Coach, almost invariably, once you get to this point in the playoffs, any team that you're looking at is blessed with pitching depth, and that's certainly the case with the Anson Tigers this year. Unless you win every coin flip, you better have some pitching depth. Tell us about the importance of the pitching depth that you guys have had this year and what a role it's played.
Well, man, our pitching depth has been a blessing to us. We actually have about 7 guys that can throw. I know in the playoffs we've seen Trevor Miller, Isaac Brand, Dylan Powell, and Wyatt Goodwin the other day. And we have about 3 or 4 more that can throw. The good thing about our staff, we preach those strikes, make the other team put the ball in play. And that's, again, same thing we're preaching this year or this week with New Deal is to just make those guys, if you're going to go down, you want to go down, giving it your best shot. And we're preaching, throw the ball in there, let them hit the baseball. As far as our staff has been unbelievable. Trevor Miller's 10-0. Isaac Brand's 8-2, and we got some other guys that are 2-0 and a couple are 1-1s. But we're very blessed as far as pitchers, and we're very blessed defensively with the guys that have all played together. We have 6 or 7 guys that have played together since they were 10 years old when the team coming up, little travel ball team. So we're blessed to have some depth on the mound, and that's been huge because sometimes one guy doesn't have it, you got to be able to go to somebody, roll the dice, someone else, and each one of those guys has the talent and the God-given ability to throw strikes and to pound the zone. And, we're extremely blessed.
And Coach, this is an Anson program that's had a lot of tradition. I mean, has a strong tradition of success. Has had a lot of success in the past. You don't have to go back too far to see the last time that this program was in this position and did make it to state. I guess just talk about just heading up that program, having the opportunity to what you're doing now, and then I guess just what it's been like to kind of be able to get this program to this point.
Right. Anson was, traditionally rich baseball team. Kind of funny that I've came this far being a graduate of Hamlin in 96 Anson was in our district all the time. We always playing these guys, but, coming out of the towns the cities I was before and coming to an opportunity to come to Anson, I talked to Coach Hagler. Of course, I was with Coach Hagler in Brownwood for a few years when I was there. And I knew there was an opportunity coming. When I signed on, wasn't sure exactly what's coming in the future years, but I was told that there was a couple of classes coming up that were going to be very talented. And as far as pressure, I don't think we had a lot of pressure. I think there's a lot of belief that they can do it within these guys. Pressure, they seem to be they thrive on that a little bit. Making it tense. Like I always tell them, and this may be off a little bit, but on that last inning, I said we always got to make it interesting. We just can't make it easy. So there's a little saying we're down with these guys and parents and things like that. They call them the cardiac kids. Always find a way to kind of make it happen. And I love being an Anson Tiger and being, my family's close around here. I got a lot of good friends around here. It's like being home again, even though I'm a few miles from there. But, blessed to be here. Got a great AD, a great superintendent, support staff, principals, and the town really likes their baseball, and we're excited.
Coach, on a personal level, tell us just about the opportunity, because you never know how many regional championships you're going to be able to play. You just can't take them for granted. Talk about just on a personal level what it means to you to get here.
Oh, it means a heck of a lot, man. 2009, I was blessed to be head coach at Brownwood and make it to the regional finals in Class 3A. And I had fortunate enough to have the big arm pitcher we had back then, Shelby Miller. And I remember walking off that field and Hardin Simmons getting beat by Andrews 9-7, thinking to myself, man, that may be in the shot I had. and fortunate, very fortunate to be here with these guys, with this group of players and coaches, and to get to this point again. I was thinking about the other day driving home on the bus that, man, who would have thought it? March the 2nd, we play, or March the 1st, we're playing New Deal in Anson, and we're fixing to meet up again right here in the regional final for a chance to go to the state tournament for both programs. That means a lot.
It's just funny. Evan mentioned earlier about consistently winning coin flips and how you can have some luck that way. You had caught a few breaks that way in that run with Shelby Miller, didn't you?
Oh, yes, sir. Multiple times when you have a guy that can throw up to 98 miles an hour that we were blessed to have, man, it was like they knew when we were coming around, we're fixing to flip for one game and make a high school team hit somebody that fast, and we fortunate enough to do that in 2009 a few times to get through there, and had some guys that could throw through. We had a couple series, but here in Anson, we've thrived on the series. That's one thing I've preached, that we've got enough depth on the mound and ability on the field and things like that we want to try to make the best team win 2 out of 3.
Coach, 10, 15 years ago, it could have been argued that in some regions and certain classifications, the Big Country, may have had some weak regions or may have been weak in spots. Do you still see that, or do you see the state of Big Country baseball improving in recent years?
Boy, I totally disagree with thinking it's weak. I've been fortunate enough to be in different regions across the state, and then when you look back on it, man, somebody from around here is always deep. And all the way through in West Texas and the Big Country, there's some good baseball being played here. There's some very, very knowledgeable coaches that know the game well, that relate that to their kids. And the kids around here, I always say this about Big Country kids. There's a different mentality about kids in the Big Country. It's it's very serious, important to them, no matter what sport it is. And this region, this area, I believe, is very tough.
Well, for the record, I don't view the Big Country as being weak now. I think that it's gotten better in the last 5 or 6 years. I think it's gotten better. But when I first got here, say 15 years ago, there were certain regions and certain classifications in our area that it was a big question mark once they got to postseason if they're going to keep going. That's right. Just for the record.
I totally understand. Depending on what district, a team plays in, if they've seen the pitching and things like that, as the district play goes on before they get to the playoffs. I agree with that statement. But yes, I believe there's some teams that have stepped up the last 10 years or so and really got it going and they're continuing that tradition.
And Coach, one thing I got to see covered that the softball team's region semifinal series was just the excitement the community brought to them. I'm sure y'all are experiencing the same thing. Just how much have you seen the community just get behind this bunch and just enjoy following what it's doing right now?
Oh man, the city here in Anson and this around here has been awesome, been great. They're excited. They support us. They'll do anything we want. We're fortunate enough in a small town to have some send-offs and big time uptown, and the guys really enjoy that kind of thing, that recognition. And man, we're blessed to be here. As far as these people in the city, the community, it's been awesome. We get any help we need with anything, like situations with rain now. It's like, how are we gonna get some practice in? We're gonna have to make some contact somewhere, and there's people all in this town and this county and whatever that will help out and find a way to get you somewhere dry to play practice.
All right. And Coach, we generally like to finish our podcast interviews with baseball coaches in particular with kind of a common question, and it just kind of revolves around the DH spot. Evan is no proponent of the DH. I am. We just like to ask coaches, how do you feel about the DH? If you were king for a day, would you keep it or would you get rid of it?
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news for somebody, but in our situation, we're blessed either way, but I've used it a lot in the past. I like the DH.
I knew it was coming. I knew it.
It's just, because, it's inevitable. Somebody's going to have a slump. Something's going to go on, and some other guy's going to be hot, kind of as you go through practice and things like that. And that's a good thing to have, to be able to use somebody like that and then get them in and out of the game if you need to be. With the new DH rules, man, it changes a lot of stuff where you can put people in and out, but I'm a stickler for old-fashioned DH in and out, and so I do like the DH rule. If to answer your question,
Charlie Finley, man, all right, Charlie Finley, he's to blame.
Yeah.
Coach, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck the rest of the way, and we will definitely be keeping an eye on you.
All right. I appreciate it. Great. Thank you guys so much.
All righty. And that was Anson head baseball coach Scotty Nichols. And I'm looking forward to the New Deal series. This is a challenging ball club that Anson's going up against, but with their pitching depth, they scratch out a win in one of the first two games. Going into game 3, they're going to be a real problem for New Deal because of all the depth that they've got coming in beyond their first 2 or 3 guys.
Yeah, and I would expect this to be a great series. If you look dating back to the last playoff before the COVID shutdown, you go back to 19, New Deal beat Holly in a fantastic series that went 3, and then lost to Albany, another fantastic series, and then last week beat Albany in a game 2 that was a really great game. So our area has played some great late round playoff games against New Deal. I'm expecting the same thing from this Anson series. I think it's going to be a really fun series regardless of who wins. And I think you're going to see some great pitching. This is an Anson team that has pitched really, really well all year long, but particularly in the playoffs. I think this is going to be a really well played small school baseball series. So if you're picking one to go out to see, I think this is the one. This is going to be a really, really good series.
And with that, it's just about time to wrap up the Capital Farm Credit Wednesday Night Podcast. But before we do that, we want to remind you that we have 3 separate subscription packages here at BigCountryPreps.com. We've got a monthly for $5 a month. We've got a semi-annual where we knock that price down to $4 a month for 6 months. And then we've got an annual subscription, 12 months, where we knock the price down to $3 a month. 12 months of Big Country high school athletic coverage for $36.
And we'd also like to remind you that if you ever see a photo you like in any one of our galleries, it is available for just $7. You can click on that small shopping cart icon to the bottom right, follow the prompt, and purchase as many of those as you would like. But as you scroll around the site, you'll probably notice we take a whole lot of photos from these games we're covering. It's something we enjoy doing. It's something we're very proud of here at BigCountryPreps.com.
All Big Country, all high school, all the time. Welcome home.